Hey, beautiful souls, it's Rada. So I'm back on, and I just wanted to have a conversation with you about energy harvesting and energy trafficking. I know we've had this conversation, but I wanted to break it down just a little bit more because there's so much more to it. And I want to explain it in a way that makes sense to you. So, like in each family, right? Each family has like a black sheep, has each family usually has one person that's a black sheep, the one that's maybe not um exactly like everybody else. It's the one that may be considered the problem child, and oftentimes this child is it's the opposite of the golden child. So the golden child could do no wrong, but the black sheep can do no right. And so what happens in this dynamic is the black sheep will take a lot of the energetic distortions from the family, meaning that the family, mother, the father, or however that structure of parents work for that unit, they have their own unresolved issues because everybody does. And many people in our society, in our world, don't even want to look at their issues. They want to run, they want to hide, they want to create success and like cover it up. But when people do that, they end up needing someone to pin their unresolved issues on because if they haven't resolved them, it's something that's festering and pestering within them. So the black sheep is the perfect one to basically take all of that. And they're the ones that get blamed for so much. They're the ones that the family will gossip about or talk about, or they're considered the problem child and the one that everybody's kind of projecting out all the problems of each individual in the family onto that specific child. So it's very heavy because that child will have to carry that weight and carry that wounding with them. But on an energetic level, and as far as harvesting goes, the wound is created in that child. So the parents or who caregivers, they energetically puncture the child, they create a severe wounding in the child. And so when they create the wounding in the child is energetically bleeding, so to speak. And the family members will feed on that. They'll feed on that child, and then they will transfer over their distortions onto them. This has been going on for forever. It's doesn't matter what country you're in. This is going on in all family units, okay? They are set up this way. And even if it's extremely unconscious, there will always be the golden child, the one that can do no wrong. And then there will be the uh, black sheep, the one that everyone projects onto. And so what happens is this child is basically entrained to feed the family with its life force energy. It's entrained because um, of the wounding that occurs, and being the black sheep, it will never feel that it belongs. And so therefore it's always going to be bleeding out. And later in life, this child um turns to relationships, and it's the same thing, right? Because nothing changes until we do. So that child, um the black sheep is actually the golden child in disguise, because I say this because that black sheep is carrying a lot of light in them. They're carrying a lot of life force energy. They're powerful. And there is something inside of the child that everyone is benefiting from their pain and suffering. Okay. And so we're talking about energy harvesting and looshing, and I know that I made it probably more complicated than it needed to be in the last video, but um, I was also sharing my experiences, and I just want this to be for you to understand how it works so that you can identify it in your family unit, you can identify it in your life, and decide if you are ready to unhook from that because excuse me, because the black sheep is actually tethered in to so many other people. So they might be tethered in to a whole family unit that is energetically feeding off of the pain. And what happens when the child starts to get these negative projections, they will simply start to feel like unwanted, unwelcome. The parental figures and adults may gossip about this child in front of the child to further humiliate the child. They are they're let in on the fact that they're not really wanted in this family unit, that they're a burden. And so these wounds are created. They're artificial wounds. I mean, they didn't have to be there, but obviously the parentals created this because they're extremely unconscious and they have deep wounding. And so it just continues and continues on. And a lot of times people aren't even aware of it. So the parents may or may not be aware that they're doing it, but many times I think very subconsciously they are, because they really will alienate this child in so many ways. And so what happens is when the wounding starts to begin and this child is bleeding out its light, because this is actually the golden child in disguise. This is the child that they will benefit from for a long time to come, and they'll always feel better about themselves because of this child being wounded and this turning into a wounded adult. And this is when they're able to hook into this child with energy cords. So energy cords are cords between us and another person. Um, they can happen many times, and our first energy cords are created through trauma. So any kind of trauma, but usually pretty severe trauma, trauma that you grow up and you're still trying to work out, that these scenarios create um, they create cords. And so these cordings can be hooked into you in until the day you die. Like you know, they can last forever. The key to uncording with people is to recognize that you have cording. Um, Another way of courting is through sex, and that's a huge, powerful, well, that is one of the most intense ways to court with somebody. So, narcissists love that because they're able to hook in to an energy field and to feed off of somebody for as long as the person allows. Okay, so that's why it's so important to make sure you have done an energetic divorce with every single person that you've ever been with. And if you've had any abuse as a child, it's important to actually do an energetic divorce. That's probably one of the most important things you could ever do to get your energy, your power, your vitality back. So I've been trained to do what's called soul fragment retrievals, and they're extremely powerful. But what happens is through different various kinds of abuse, there is an energy transfer. Okay, that's part of the energy harvesting. The innocent child ends up having to forfeit their good energy to the abuser, and the abuser takes all that good energy and then leaves the child with the shame and the blame and the trauma and all of that stuff. So that's actually an energy swap and an energy transfer. That's actually another form of destiny swapping. So you really want to take a nice look at your history and see if you've had any events that may have caused you to lose pieces of your soul, because actually part of your soul comes out and is transferred to the abuser. And so what happens is they're more enriched with your energy while you're more depleted and you keep getting dimmer and dimmer, and then you get older and you get into the same relationships because you're trying to heal and you don't know that you need to get your soul fragments back, that you have to do an energetic divorce for each and every person, that you need to you're not going to cut the cords, okay? Because cord cutting is something I don't think is great, because you're cutting a cord. It doesn't make sense. You have to pull it out by the root, and there's a certain way of doing it. It has to be precise. You have to pull every bit of it out, and then you do a whole cleanup process, and it's so powerful. Like when I was working with a lot of women one-to-one before, a lot of women would get so stuck on their guy and to the point where they couldn't get over them. So they would have to get a session, or they would want to get a session because they're like, I'm way too obsessed, and you know, he's moved on or whatever, and it's so unhealthy. And so they couldn't understand. They tried to purge, to meditate, to do all this stuff. And then when they would come in, I would check to see if they still had an active energy cord to the person that was tethered into them and tethered into their person. And then we would remove that, but then we have to take it a step further and retrieve the soul fragment. Okay, soul fragment retrieval is very, very powerful. It can instantly bring healing to certain trauma events, because one of the reasons why people are pining over their exes is because their ex still has a piece of them, literally their soul fragment. So that means they have to get it back. And it was incredible because I'd see like almost instantly, within a day later, these women would be like, every single time, like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. I'm not feeling attached. I feel like I'm free. I can let go. And people don't understand, energy is like so powerful. And when you make love to somebody, that energy is so powerful between two parties. And if something happens where it's non-consensual, there's, that's still so powerful, but in a very negative way. So, you know, anything to do with sex is going to be courting. Okay, so that's why like people who are into poly and stuff like that, they don't understand like poly is for vampires, because vampires need a lot of supply. So they need to plug in, literally plug in to so many sources to feed. That's why you want to be really mindful about who you are connecting to on a very intimate level. And it can really mess up your mind and really mess up your heart if you allow people who don't have a level of maturity and who actually want to feed off of your energy, right? Because that's your root chakra. That's your power center. I mean, that's it's everything. And yeah, you got to protect yourself, and that's why like cheating and all that stuff, it's very toxic, because if a person is going outside of a divine union, and hooking up with somebody else, they're courting to them. And then they bring that cord into your relationship. They bring it into you. You're now plugged into this energy siphoning system that you don't even know about. So it's really important to have people who are of integrity and have the same values as you do. Like, obviously, if you don't care and you're a vampire and you're hooked into everybody, then it doesn't matter for you because you're just feeding all over the place. So you don't really count. But if you're a person who values yourself, values your energy, who is extremely sensitive and knows that, there's some energy harvesting going on, you need to do an audit. I'm serious about that. You need to do an audit. Like, write down your past lovers, go and then start going backwards to different experiences or different traumas, and then just jot them down with like the date and time. And then if you had an energy healing session, you could ask your healer to muscle test or to check to see if you have cords from any of those. So it's good to have a bit of history to understand yourself. This is why self-reflection is so important because so many people are living their life without reflecting. They're actually deflecting and they're really hurting themselves. And I mean, I get it. Like the thing is like when you've been kind of through a destruction process as a child, you are set up to destroy yourself. That's actually a program, a self-destruct program. And I'm very aware of it because I was set up for that too. And so I'm so glad that I became an energy healer. I am so glad that I invested so much of my time, energy, and resources into training because I learned so much and I understood that it's so important to keep yourself. There's this one little bug, and it's like a monitoring spirit. It's like trying to distract me. It's like, it's tiny. It's like microscopic. It's like a little. Anyhow, so, I wouldn't have known this stuff. I wouldn't have known any of this. And I don't think people don't educate. You think if you just pray that things are just gonna go away. And the thing is, with Creator, see, I'm an advanced theta healer and a teacher in theta healing, and one of the things that I learned is about commands, and so it's important to know that, like, the Creator doesn't want you. Like, sometimes we are in that place where you're groveling, but really, your true power and your vibration is when you're in your command, right? Command center. You're the commander of your life. And so you don't want to be groveling and like begging and like that doesn't seem to work. So Creator actually thinks of us as co-creators. Like we are the earth angels if we want to be here. And as such, we got to start speaking into our reality as co-creators. Um, that's very important. And that leads me to the book that I've been so excited that Maya the Shaman is doing, Decrees of Command. And this is such a powerful book. It's called Decrees of Commands. Um, so there comes a time when affirmations fall flat, when prayers feel unanswered, when your light flickers under the weight of invisible chains, you've spoken kindly to the shadows and you've journaled your pain into poetry and you've offered forgiveness where there was none earned and still something clings, something unseen, for the one who's tried everything, for the empath turned warriors, for the healers who've had their hearts broken, not once, but lifetime after lifetime. You are not weak. You may have been targeted because your voice holds codes, the collapse of whole empires of illusion, because your light terrifies those who build their kingdoms on stolen timelines and silence gifts. So now it's time to rise, not with softness, but with sovereignty, not with a whisper, but a command, to speak and watch the parasites scatter. Speak, call your soul fragments home. Speak, and the collapse of the false thrones built on your silence. You do not need to beg. You do not need to explain. Your yes is enough. Your no is divine. And these decrees, they're not poems, okay? They're not just prayers. They're through the angels that weep when they're spoken. They are the legal documents in the court of Creator. They are the spiritual swords forged from truth. They cut through illusion, they burn through spells, they return what is yours with interest. Remember, with love, with power. So if you feel haunted by what you can't name, bound by what you can't see, or are tired in a way that sleep won't fix, you are not broken. You are waking, and this book is here to walk you home. Each decree is a declaration. Let each word be a flame in the dark, and let this book be the hand, that you hold as you remember what it means to be unshakably free. So I'm going to share with you. Let's see if I can find it. It's uh it's right now on Kindle for pre-sale. And it's just $2, you guys. $2.99. But because like it's really important that people have this book, okay? Very important. By the way, look at this cover. Isn't it beautiful? So it's called Decrees of Commands, and I'll put a link below. Spiritual Technologies for Sovereignty. And so why this is so important, as I told you, because so many divine beings have been bamboozled out of their destiny, out of their divine positions, out of what was meant for them. They were bamboozled when they were young. Because here's the thing about the black sheep, or the ones that were abused in any way, shape, or form, is that they knew that you were a frequency keeper, that you had this light, that you have the golden light, that you are a manifester. And a lot of times, um, the other beings, they don't understand, they can't manifest in the same way. It is so crazy, the stuff that I have opened my eyes to, and I'm really grateful and humbled by every lesson that has taught me the old-fashioned hard way, and also through the journeys of studying and being an apprentice, and really giving my heart to the work that I do. And I have spent many, many years studying this stuff because it's important to me. I don't think much else matters. Things come and they go. The world is always in flux. It's always in trauma. I mean, look, there's potential wars and such. And what matters is like the frequency that you were born to be, that you were born as, I should say, because you were born as that frequency. And it's like the moment you came out, um, you got spanked, and you got, all this, you got the first traumas when you came out. And it continued on and on and on. I mean, this world is set up so that you don't remember who you are. So you try to conform so you can fit in. But let me tell you something, okay? This is really important for all of you who feel like the black sheep and you've never really been like accepted in the sense like there's something a little bit different about you. And also, others know there's something a little bit different about you. And also, people will either they will admire you, but a lot of people will envy you and they will want to put you down a few notches. And you're not even doing anything. They just feel infuriated because you're just being yourself, because you didn't fold yourself up to try to be somebody else, because you just were yourself, even if it hurt. And even if you didn't know how, because still, every single person that is born here is indoctrinated, and there's just no way around that. I mean, you go to school, you know, you have TV, you start watching cartoons, there's just no way around it. But there's a soul spark inside of you. And part of the energy harvesting is these people, beings, whatever you want to call them, they actually see that soul spark and they want it and they will do anything to take it. They'll pretend they love you, pretend to be your friend, pretend to be your ally, pretend, because that's all they know how to do is pretend because they can't be who they truly are and they resent you. Because even if you're not perfect, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're just being yourself, even, and all these people are very humble. Those that have been through all that they've been through, they're humble people. They're not trying to do anything to others. They're just staying in their lane, doing their thing, but yet they're the ones that get attacked. Why is that? You know? I mean, and it's weird how it turns on a dime with anybody. This is the only story I'll tell, but I remember being about 13 or 14 or 15, and going to like a house party, and I was with my girlfriends, a whole group of friends, and I never had any issues or beef with. And the entire group, all of a sudden, in unison, threw me to the ground and started to rip my clothes off in front of this house party. I was horrified, mortified, and I couldn't understand why they would do that. Because I wasn't having any fights or anything like that. There was no squabble or, you know, um, anything. So what I've come to realize though, because all of these encounters and weird experiences have taught me that there's just something in your frequency that's just a little different and it just triggers people. It's because there is a certain frequency that's been here on Earth, and a lot of the demons and stuff have been working with that frequency. It's very low, it's very dumbed down. And any other frequencies that they just consider it a threat. They don't even know why in their conscious mind, and they just want to destroy you. And you had no bad thoughts about them, but they are having crazy thoughts about you. And I would say that to me, looking back, I'd say, wow, I must have always been really different because if I could just trigger people doing nothing, that's actually pretty amazing. And I understand now, with the frequencies that there's many star seeds that came here with these unique frequencies, and the frequencies are not they haven't been like woven into this world. So it always will make you feel like for others, you'll feel different to them. You'll feel like an outsider or you don't feel like you don't belong, and that's okay. Like that's perfectly fine because the truth is you have to go through your journey. And you have to learn like solo how to be you, because if you were to join any of these like cults or these little cliques or whatever. You're just trying, you want to be like them. You end up trying to be like you're a wannabe. And they all think that they're so powerful and amazing because they're in a group. And yet you're original. You're unique. And so why would you trade that uniqueness in to be part of a group of very unhappy people who spend their time and energy targeting others so that they can get, you know, loosh and energy. And this is also religious organizations, okay? I mean, I don't know how many times I have had clients who have been part of churches and things like that. And the people that work there are actually like they pretend to be of God, they pretend to be of light, and they're preaching, but really they're of the dark. You know, they're doing a lot of stuff behind the dark. They're not everybody is who they say they are. And the ones that are like preaching God the most are sometimes some of the worst. And I say that from my own experience. Um, it's sad. Like they'll use those places to target people, right? Vulnerable people. They'll use those places to abuse kids. How many times do we have to hear about these stories? And still people are giving their kids to the church. It's wild. So, um, I'm all for God. I'm all for creator source, but a lot of institutions are you know, you know what they are. I don't have to explain that. Anyhow, so I wanted to just share with you about this. Like, please start taking inventory of your life. Start looking at the organizations that you are a part of. Like, do you feel nourished being a part of them? Like, I'm sure when everybody is doing their abracadabra stuff, you know, there's a feeling of power. But how do you feel like afterwards? How do you feel in your life? Do you, because, you know, when you're part of a group or a clique or anything like that, you are going to have to contribute a portion of your energy into that. You have to put part of yourself into that pot. And you're also sharing karma with everybody that's in that group. Especially if it's like a lifelong commitment type of a thing, you're sharing your karma. So if you are a undercover golden child and you're with a group of vampires and you know, eventually it's gonna be your downfall. So you got to be careful with that stuff. Like don't just give yourself away to anything, anyone. Um, a lot of people can say really nice things, especially when it comes to God and things like that. But I'd say you have to really start seeing things with your heart and with your third eye. Start asking yourself, like, is this experience nourishing me or is it depleting me? I don't go to big concerts anymore or things like that because there's a whole group of people and there's usually like a lot of energy vampires at these events and you know, they're just feeding off of everybody there. The event itself is usually coordinated to be a looshing event, you know? So there are a lot of examples I could pull up, but just start to think about it, okay? That's your that's your assignment. Anyhow, I just wanted to hop on and share with you um, both about the energy harvesting and how to start looking out for yourself and how to start being more proactive, learning to say no and not just saying yes to everything just so you could be included, because that's not always a great thing. Like sometimes it's good to spend time alone. Sometimes it's good to contemplate. It's good to really get to know yourself. Build your build your relationship with yourself, build your relationship with Creator, the divine, and you'll be so surprised at how beautiful your life can become. I'm actually so happy that I've committed to certain things in my life, like healing. I've committed to creating. And these are things that nobody can take away from me. And even with the stalkers and things like that, like they're just hungry. They're just desperate. They just want some of your light and energy because they're depleted because they're in these big groups and they're all feeding off of each other. Like it's cannibalism. So I can understand why they're starving, but they're going to have to make individual choices that are going to serve them and their own heart, mind, body, and souls. I can't make decisions for anybody. Everybody has to make their own sovereign decision. You know, we're all sovereign beings and we're given this lifetime. Um, and we're taught early on that you want to be part of so many groups. You want to be part of so many things. You need to be included, you know. And it's giving pick me energy. It's the energy of like, you know, you just always want to be picked. And truthfully, it's not always a great thing to be picked. Sometimes you need to choose yourself because if other people are choosing you over you choosing yourself first, there's something wrong, okay? So you gotta learn that self-love. All right, guys. It's like 11 p.m. here, so I'm gonna go. Wishing you a beautiful evening. I'll put that information below for the book, and you definitely want to get that. It's gonna have so many decrees in the book. Um, Maya has been doing, well, she's a healer. She does Lemurian Code Healing, Lemurian Code Academy, and Infinite Cosmic Records. And, she's worked with some pretty intense clients. Like, I mean, I'm not allowed to say who, but she's had a lot of clients, you know, that are coming off of these big bloodlines like the Rothschilds and stuff like that. And, there's a lot of abuse, there's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of pain and suffering. And a lot of times, most of the time, because they have so many altars and things like that, they can just switch into another I'm okay character. But behind that, there's a lot going on. So she's helped so many people. And one of the things that she's done to help them between sessions, because they're really intense, is that she's done personalized decrees for them. So I'm really getting back into it. She's really inspired me. And I know that it will inspire you too. It's funny because a lot of the stuff that Maya does, like I'm very rebellious, so I want to learn everything out on my own. Like I went to my own healers academies and studied under different people, and I just wanted to like it's very hard sometimes when you're related to somebody because you sometimes learn better when it's not your family member, but the decrees are so amazing, and I feel really grateful for them and grateful for you for tuning in. And until next time, bye for now.